Hello, everyone. I'm Michelle Lee with Athena Rising Now, Women's Empowerment Coach, speaking with Shems Heartwell, who is a guide and facilitator who specializes in men's work, coaching, and relationship empowerment. His work goes to the core of what is needed for embodied transformation by integrating the physical, mental, sexual, emotional, and spiritual. Over the past 15 years, Shem has mentored with some of the most influential teachers in the fields of conscious relationship, coaching, leadership, healing, and transformation. He blends his experience and knowledge into the highly effective work that is the leading edge of the human potential movement. Welcome, Shems. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Michelle. Nice to be here with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. And, as we spoke before, I kind of shared with you, I've been a women's empowerment coach for about 16 years and really leading women now in the past 5 years into really stepping into their power and owning their own work, creating the life that they want, owning their value and worthiness. And what is their greatest fear is the disapproval of their husband, losing their approval, disappointing their husband. And then even some women are finding that they just don't have the support of their men. And I really feel a collective masculine panic. Would you agree with that? How are you supporting men?
Well, first I'd say, yeah, it feels like there's a really hot fire right now. And there's a lot of things on that front burner, but one of them is like inviting men to meet the women more intentionally, consciously, and from a place of mutual empowerment and respect. And so there's a lot of feedback coming to men of like, either get it together or like get out, and on a cultural level. And then it's also happening multiculturally at the same time too. So, what I'm doing is I work with men really coming home to feeling again and being in their body and getting out of their heads and getting out of the stories and judgments and criticalness and being into like, how do I really meet myself and then meet you? Because I can't really be in relationships skillfully unless I'm all the way at home in my own experience here. And what you described around women feeling unsafe with their men, it's because men are often really disconnected from their authentic experience. And this is true for women too, but maybe it's more amplified with men for the most part. And we feel in some ways the interruption more because men will be more aggressive with anger, more judgmental, more overpowering from their discomfort inside.
So I get that. We're all disconnected, and then we look for connection with one another, right? We're disconnected from ourselves. So we look to our spouse, our husband, our wife for that connection. And it's just not, it's unavailable. So how can we support our men, and how do you support men in finding that authentic connection? One, and two, how did we get so disconnected?
I think I'm going to answer number 2 first, because it feels like it's there. And I have a theory, and of course this isn't my own, this is from what I've gathered and learned from others, is that somewhere along the line we began to live more from our mind and from observing reality state, like objectifying, like taking things apart and seeing this is a tree and this is an animal and this is this and this is this. And there's a way that we stopped really meeting life from our wholeness. We're not living in integrity of like the gut knowing inside of us, the heart consciousness or sensing and feeling. We're living in a place of mind which is not necessarily like in connection to the whole. And because of that, we're living, most of us, in a level of insecurity, and we're looking for our safety and security outside of ourselves, really more than being in it and embodying it and feeling it, and then meeting each other from that, and already feeling connected to the trees, to the air, to the land, to anyone we're with. There's this degree of separation that's happened because we're living overly mentally polarized. So to me, that whatever led to that is what I think is the biggest problem on the planet, if there's a problem. It's the place that has humans feel separate from animals, separate from each other, separate from life.
Right.
And so that speaks into how I'm playing my part to help remedy it. And for me, that's learning how to actually come back into integrity. Not integrity that I'm doing the right thing, saying the right thing, but integrity that I'm actually living from my wholeness. And as men, that we're returning to opening up the flow of aliveness by feeling our feelings, by coming back to authenticity, like not being scared to disappoint our wife by being honest.
Yeah.
If our honesty comes from love and care, then it doesn't matter what we're thinking or feeling. If we can actually stay open with the conversation and meet with what's actually alive in us, moment to moment, then we open up a true, authentic relational field that we're not doing most of the time. We're a little scared of what the other thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And as men, we're scared of what other men think. We're scared of what we should be doing according to our cultural beliefs versus what do I authentically want to do? What do I authentically want with you? And I'm helping men rediscover that and embody that in a way that allows them to meet life from, I would call it leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy leadership is that we're connected to ourselves and we're able to give high quality feedback to others and really meet whatever's in front of us and not avoid it or check out or turn away, but here's what's here.
Great. I love that. I love that. And, you know, as you're speaking, what it made me think of is as we try to come together, men and women have been given roles to play, right? We all have these gender roles. And as women break out of their gender roles, right, and embrace more of, I'm more than just a mom, I'm more than just a wife, I have this identity that I crave to express. I really sense that as we step into that identity, that it shakes a man's identity. It's because it's kind of like, hey, wait, that doesn't fit into the role I play. If you're bringing home money and as what's happening a lot is, you know, a lot of women are becoming the breadwinners. And that is turning the world upside down for a lot of men. Can you speak into that a little bit?
Yeah, there's so much in this. And
I know.
you know, in some ways it comes down to like false power. And that we've been enculturated and we've grown up with these certain belief systems about reality, and a lot of them are not really accurate. And they have us kind of following certain life tracks and enrolling ourselves with certain identities and personas. And when those get shaken and someone chooses to get out of that and kind of go, well, who am I really? And what do I really want? And I had my kids and now it's like, how do I like live my life? And I want my man to meet me here. That it's true. It rattles some of those comfort levels, you know, and men will often feel that more as a threat versus as an invitation.
Yes.
And so I think one of your jobs that you're probably doing with women is how do we actually give more loving invitations for men to meet us versus to feel like there's this big gap between where I am and where my man's at, which is what I hear a lot relationally. When's he going to stop and do his work? And so, well, how are you helping to cross that gap and not just all of a sudden being on the other side of some kind of wall of life, but how are you inviting your man to meet you and then giving space for him to meet you and not expecting that he won't, already having judgments and criticisms because he's not moving there fast enough for you. Mm-hmm. And I like to shake the boat a little bit because I just being in the world, I work with so many couples that I don't have a story that women are more evolved than men. I think often women will think they're more open, more evolved, but when it comes down to it, they're scared of their man really meeting them. And when he does actually meet them with his full presence and his like, boom, they're like, I can't quite handle that. I thought I wanted that, but now I don't know. And so I do like to add that in there because many times I'm with a couple and it seems like the woman is more willing, more open. And when we start having movements between what's in the way, what's happening, often when the man really shows up, the woman can't handle it either.
Mm-hmm.
And get scared.
I love that you say that. I love that you say that because while I have identified the false power, and I would love to share this story, because it's such a great metaphor and it really happened. I was on the phone with my mom and she lives out in the country. And she said, I saw the craziest thing. You're not even going to believe me. She said, a raven, big raven, was chasing a bobcat. And she said that bobcat was running and she was laughing. She goes, what is a cat to do? It can't run up a tree when it's being chased by a bird. And I said, to me, that was the false power of the masculine and the feminine, right? Suddenly the feminine is going, wait, the bird's going, wait, I don't agree to this power dynamic anymore. Right? And the cat's like, holy shit, where do I go? What do I do? And I love that you say, because I will be honest with you, I've been unmarried and single for 15 years. And my story has been that men hold me back. They are my obstacle. And so doing my work and empowering women, and they have these men getting in their way. I'm like, wait, I eliminated men from my life so they don't get in my way. So now here they are getting in my way through my clients, right? So I love that you say this because I can see where I would be that same way as like, wait, I'm used to being dominant. Right? So how do we take our man's hand and invite him in with love and positive expectation that he will meet us there?
Yeah, thank you for sharing your own experience of what you notice as your growth edge in some ways here. It's so valuable. And what you describe actually brings up something I think it's really one of my most valuable learning tools I learned from Katie Hendricks was that we get caught on something called the drama triangle, which is basically the hero, victim, villain role. And when you said what you said, there was a little bit of you being in victim. I'm at the effect of men like being overpowering or controlling or always trying to help or fix or save me in hero role or villain role. Whenever we're enrolled in one of those, like if I'm in the victim, I require people in my life to either be heroes or villains.
Yes.
They're either going to try to save me or they're going to try to or they're going to make me wrong for where I'm at, and tell me to get my shit together. If I'm in the hero role, as women often are, and they're like holding it together for their kids, for their man, for the household, they require their man to either be a victim and need them or to be a villain and be angry with them and have a bunch of charge with them. So the first step as a woman is, am I on the triangle? Is to check in. Like, is there any way I'm enrolled trying to save or fix my husband? Or am I in the victim position just waiting for him to get it together and finally show up? And maybe when he does, if we're in any of those roles, we're going to create drama. We're going to get caught in entanglements relationally. So the first thing as a woman is like, all right, how do I get unenrolled? Well, one of the things is that, can I really choose and commit to creating what I want and be okay with my man not meeting there right away? That I get aligned in myself versus I'm as clear as day that I want to be on my spiritual path. I want to be living from a place of love rather than fear, whatever they are that come in. And I'm going to let the universe orchestrate that for me of what happens from there because I'm so clearly committed to what I want. So when I'm in that place, I can be very clear with my husband or my partner, what does I do really want from you? I would love to have you stop every once in a while and really look me in the eyes and slow down and for us to really see each other where we're at and accept each other where we're at. Simple little steps like that are not confronting, however, are kind of like warm invitations, but not from losing our center, but from being so clear. Because my sense is the more that we're clearly committed to what we want, then the more likely there's going to be this healthy movement from the universe to help us. And a lot of us aren't clearly committed to what we want. So we have unconscious commitments, cultural patterns, what we've learned behaviors, fears, belief systems. They're actually running the show, even if we think we want something. And so a lot of it's like getting committed to, I'm committed to having a healthy relationship with my man. And if that commitment's really strong, in some ways, there's already this big, warm, open heart to meet me here.
Wow. Love that. Love that. Thank you. So much clarity there. Can you describe what is the divine masculine? I work with the sacred feminine, right? The divine feminine, and really stepping into and owning and receiving, and that what is the divine masculine? How does that look for men?
You know, I like to pull the word like divine out a little bit because there's immediately some connotations to that being spiritual, more evolved, more of these things. So I think it more is healthy masculine or essential masculine. I like the word essential masculine because essential masculine is that, you know, men basically are in their power, they're plugged into their bodies, they're living in a place of like deliberate responsibility and leadership. They choose what they want, they take action on it, they have that healthy masculine force of direction, intentionality. And so we have like, you know, in some ways there's archetypes for what I would call the essential masculine is that they have a lot of colors to their being. They have a healthy, some quality of warrior where they go out in the world and do what they need to do. They have a quality of king that when they're at home, they know how to like really oversee the house, their children, they know how to like help orchestrate what needs to happen, but they see it from that place of loving the people in their life. And the healthy king has a sense of wanting the best for all involved, right? And then there's this quality of the magician where they do their spiritual work. They go in and they look at their shadows. They look at their repeating patterns. They maybe go and do some work with men that isn't just hanging out and drinking beer and watching football. That's more like, hey, let's hang out, guys, and let's do some quality thing. Let's talk about where our edges are in our lives and how we're making new movement. Maybe they're a part of a men's program or a men's group or something that's facilitating them to grow. You know, and then they have a healthy lover where they know how to like be in their hearts and feel and connect to their woman and know how to feed the fire sexually and keep some degree of primal sexual aliveness going. So those are just one example, and there's a lot more. There's an artist, there's a poet, there's all these colors to a healthy masculine. But what I would call, you know, what you're saying is like awakened masculine is that we're learning how to live from all the colors of our being or more of them versus being caught in certain like roles of like, okay, I work for Google, I'm a successful executive, and when I'm not doing that, I race cars on the weekends. And that's what I am, and that's all I do. And it's like, I don't want to be caught in roles as a man, but these are things I've developed. Right. And these are things that I love to bring into my life and enrich my life from. And so to me, you know, healthy masculine is that we're willing to keep learning and growing and staying on our edges and not getting caught too fixated, not too congested in a certain idea of who I think I am, because as we all know, it's ever changing. Down to the point when our body's shutting down and falling apart and decaying and we're dying, we're going through a change. And when that happens in the physical body, hopefully spiritually and mentally, we're actually staying alive and plugged into something that's even bigger than this life.
So good. So good. Yeah. Multidimensional. I think that's so important. So important. And it, you know, I'm the mom of boys, you know, so that has really shifted me and wanting to support them in even in the culture. You see how much impact the culture has on girls and boys, you know, but right now I'm raising boys. My girls are grown. And what would you say is like, for a man and for boys becoming men, what is their greatest challenge?
Not having really good role models of men, not having healthy men that take them through some healthy degree of initiation process. Mm-hmm. So our men are uninitiated in our culture for the most part, or the initiation is that they went to a frat house and drank themselves sick until they made it through there, and then they got to do what they do and they learned some things, or their initiation was becoming successful in their business, right. Which are, you know, they're kind of initiations and they're valuable, but there isn't the initiation of like, how do you own your authority and be home with yourselves and be the source of your own approval? So boys and men and women, we're all looking for approval on the outside unconsciously because our culture has set that stage. For sure. And so the work for young boys and men is to create spaces where the boys get to go through initiations where they really find their strength and they source their own approval so that when there's teasing or judgments or outer things. They don't just shrink and withdraw and deflate in their confidence. And so I was fortunate to work with something called Boys to Men, which is a subset of the Mankind Project, where we would take young boys out for initiations for a weekend. We'd have healthy elders. We'd have this whole system. And we'd play games like Balls of Truth, where we'd have different sized balls. And the truth is like, hey, my dad beat me for most of my life. That's a big ball of truth to speak. Having containers like that, where young boys get to be seen in their vulnerability and their pain and get to be loved, admired, and appreciated. And once that happens, then we start to go like, I'm okay. Like I deserve to be here in this body and wherever I'm at and in this world and what I'm doing. And then there's a lot more capacity to become healthy leaders.
Yes. Love that. Love that. So important. So before we close, our time is about up, and I want you to be able to share with us how to get a hold of you. But first, what is the one takeaway you would like our listeners to have on how to grow as a couple?
Is to not withhold, to create a safe environment whereas you're honest with your partner, not from blame, not your judgments, but here's what I'm noticing inside of me, that we're sharing our inner background conversation in the moment, instead of having it eroding us inside and having us live from disconnection. So somehow doing what you can to create an agreement in your relationship for both of us to be more authentic with what's really going on for us, and to give our partner permission to have all that's going on for them and not have it mean too much. So like, you can have judgments of not liking me right now because I made one decision or I did this, and that doesn't mean you don't love me.
Right.
You cannot resonate with what I'm up to and want me to be doing better work in the world or something else, and it doesn't mean you don't love me. It actually means you really love me. And so creating a container where there's more permission and space for each of us to have all the feelings and experiences we're having, and then there's room for us to have that without us immediately jumping to conclusions about what that means.
Yes. Yes. That's so good. I see it as really creating the teamwork we think we're creating when we're actually oftentimes creating competition. Yeah.
Well, unconsciously, we're not really being allies. Often we're in survival mode still. And so we still see like, I'm at risk with you, rather than you're my ally and you want the best for me and the best for us. And that's why you're actually asking me something. That's why you're wanting more from me. That's why you're giving me feedback. And if we could keep that allyship strong, wow, there's so much. It's like we build a stronger bandwidth, relational bandwidth between us. Yes.
Powerful. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, Shems. It's been so enlightening. I love what you're doing. Can you share with everyone how to reach you?
Yeah, simply go to my website, which is shemsheartwell.com. And I have couples courses I lead and men's courses online, and then private work I do with individuals, men, women, and couples. Because often I'm working with women too, because they need support to know how to actually create the healthy relationship with their man that they're wanting.
You bet. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to having another conversation with you. I hope we can do that.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks so much. Bye for now.